Welcome back to Sacred Success Salon, where we are speaking with amazing guest speakers about those moments when they realize that they get to lead themselves before they get to lead the mission they were born for. I am your host, Anna Kowalska, and today it is my honor and privilege and such joy already. I know this is going to be a fun-filled conversation. It is my honor to introduce you to our guest speaker today, Colette Baron-Reid. Welcome, Colette.
Oh, it's so exciting to be here with you. I think you're fantastic, and I'd love to talk to you about basically anything.
And I know we could go, so many places. So great. So
we could.
We could. Let me just say a couple words about who you are, even though I'm sure many of you already know who Colette is. If you haven't heard of her, you've been living under a rock, but no judgment. Colette is a best-selling author. She's internationally acclaimed oracle expert, spiritual intuitive, a host of Inside the Universe. I love that, Inside the Universe. And you're just really well known for the work that you do with oracle, with people, spirituality, awakening, choosing themselves, choosing their mission. So I can't imagine a better person to have this conversation with. So Colette, are you ready for this?
I am.
Would you share with us a story about when you realize you are here to lead something, a mission? There is something here for you to bring to the world. But before you do that, you get to lead yourself.
Oh, so this is very interesting that you brought that up, because it only just this moment occurred to me that it had nothing to do with business, because I was a drug addict and an alcoholic in my 20s after a series of very violent experiences. I won't go into detail about that. But I turned to drugs and alcohol to self-soothe and got into a lot of trouble. And when I got clean and sober, it was actually 37 years ago, this coming January, one day at a time. I realized that the root of my suffering was my inability to accept my life, and I continued to see myself as a victim, and that I knew that I needed, in order to lead myself first, I needed to have a conscious contact to a higher power, understand that I may have been victimized, but I was not a victim, and to work through a lot of shadow stuff, so that then became the obvious impetus to realize that my life was so drastically altered by this new path that I had gotten on. It made sense to me that that would somehow be what me leading myself with, then allowed me to have the information and the actual experience under my belt, so that I could share that experience, strength, and hope with other people.
I don't know that I knew that about you.
Yeah, I'm 37 years clean and sober.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm lucky to be alive. I'm really lucky to be alive. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And through that you learn, you gained experience, right? It's amazing, because you are and this is not to compare, but there are several stories in this series from amazing people just like you, who had similar experiences where they had to go to almost like this really dark place to come out on the other side and lead.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think that enables, here's the thing. I think because I got a second chance at life, I have a deep sense of gratitude and also humility, because I know that I am very fortunate. It's really through grace that I was given this opportunity to, because all it would take for me is to pick up one drink to ruin everything. And also I really experienced a lot of degradation and a complete loss of myself. So in losing all of that, losing myself, losing my self-worth, really ridden with shame, etc. I mean, it was a lot of sexual violence. I won't go into it, but coming through that and then realizing I needed to reinvent myself, but not just to reinvent myself. I had to make something of myself. I had to give purpose to the pain. I had to turn it into something useful. And I learned that I could early on, just being in recovery meetings, because of course you share your worst nightmares with people and they're like nodding their heads going, yeah, we get it. We can, and we do it together. So I have like a real experience with understanding the nature of compassion and empathy. from the experience of having lost everything. But you know, when I think of the journey to where how I got to where I got to, I'm in a profession now that I was just doing this while I was pursuing another career. I was a singer-songwriter. I actually have 2 albums on the EMI, actually Universal Music label. And that was my only interest. And I was very dogged about what I was pursuing. And yet I had this sacred calling that I was gifted with this ability. You know, my dad, he taught me how to read Turkish coffee cups when I was a kid. And I already had these abilities. And when I became an aromatherapist, I did some healing work as a day job, and I would pick up stuff from people and whatever. And I just had it. It was so easy. And there was nothing, how do I put it? No ambition attached to it, which is fascinating because everything that I ever chased and pursued came with so much pain, and the stuff that came easily to me, that yes, there was still growth, etc. And there's still, obviously there's some pain, but it was very interesting that anything I had to hustle for doesn't have the same value as what comes through me. You know, comes through real inspiration. But I didn't think that was good enough back then. I used to tell people, I don't really do this. I'm really a singer. Don't come back next year. Right. And it's really funny. But I can tell you though, the minute where I realized that, this is real, was when I completely didn't have a plan to write a book or to have a book deal or anything like that. I had a record deal. And I had a client who was part of this celebrity brand company in London, in England. And I had a lot of clients in London. That was when I was still doing one-on-one clients. And I had a lot of very, upscale, very shishi clientele. They were like, come to London. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to move there. And so they took me on and said, we really think you should have a book. So I was like, well, okay. But they saw me more as a full on, because I'm also an artist. I'm a visual artist. I used to paint years ago, and now I'm painting again. So it was like all this whole thing. But I was like, okay, well, whatever. And so they got 3 book deals offered to me. And the one that they said, oh, no, you shouldn't sign, was Hay House.
Oh,
they weren't offering the same money. They weren't offering the same deal. They weren't offering, like the other ones were in the auction were like, oh, no, we want you. And here's what we're going to give you. And I just said, I'm supposed to go with those people. Right. And it was like, I'm like, no, I'm supposed to go there. I don't know why. I just know I'm supposed to go there. And when I got there and I sat in the president's office, and actually Denise Lynn, who was my client, I had never met her face to face, but she had called him and said that, that I was the best in the world that she had ever seen, and blah, 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 and yada, yada, yada. So Reid was like, okay, we've heard about your reputation. And I sat there and I realized that I was given this to give to other people. I had to lead myself through my turmoil, and also a lot of psychological healing, and emotional healing. I had to do a lot of healing in order to be that clear channel for other people.
Yeah.
So that moment was sitting in the office, and I started crying. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, I don't know if really? Like, and yeah.
So this is when you were accepting the book deal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He wanted to meet me. I came in the office and I sat there and we were talking, and I just started bawling, and I realized, wait a second, all these things I've been chasing, and I was good. I was a really, talented singer-songwriter. I had great band, I had everything, but it was like, it was what I wanted it to give me. It was like everything that we chase, we do it because we're looking for an experience. It's not the thing. It's the experience we're hoping it's going to give us, right? Somehow there's going to be some form of redemption in this getting of this acquisition, right? And I don't prescribe to the acquisitional model when I talk about manifesting anymore, but it was at the time that was like, I want this thing. But I realized that here I had the respect, the self-respect, the ability to know that my life experience could help other people, that I went, I'd done all kinds of, I'm a nerd, I study everything. So it's like, I didn't finish my degree, but I'm a Jungian. I have a background in Jung, and I have a, I'm a fascination for ancient divination and history and stuff. So it's like, I'm a nerd. And there I am realizing that my nerdiness and this ability that I have that is totally weird and completely bizarre, and I don't know why I have it, but I do, all kind of balled together. And music wasn't that, it was like the thing I thought was the most important thing in my entire life.
Yes.
Really wasn't.
Wow. So you know what I hear when you share that, Colette? I hear you set yourself aside for whatever was there that wanted to come through you. Because choosing a career as an artist, as a singer, that's not easy either, right? Like, so many people, even when they desire to, they will still kind of, even now, even with everything that's available to grow that career, people still kind of like, I don't know, this is not the best way to make a living.
No, it wasn't. And it was never about making a living for me, because I always could make a living doing readings. I did readings. I made a really good living doing readings. I could do whatever I wanted, set my own timetable, and then pursue music. Music for me was an artistic expression. Same with, visual art, which is bizarre also, because as soon as Hay House saw that I painted, because I just decided to paint again a year and a half ago, and I did a few paintings and I showed them, like, oh my God, you got to do this for your next Oracle deck. And I think you could see one of them.
Yes.
They paint these beings. They're very odd and strange and weird, and they kind of come through. And I never did that either for anything. I never expected it to be anything except for me. So here's my message with all of this.
Yes.
Okay. Because I believe that business, that business is the same thing as what I'm describing. That it's not about choosing your business, it's letting the business choose you. And that's what I'm going to be teaching next year. It's called the spirited business. It's about making your calling sacred, making the side hustle sacred. Right. Realizing that we are in a relationship. We're here as emissaries of the divine. We are spiritual beings first and foremost. Secondary, we're human. We don't ever remember that part. All right. But that's the lesson here. But we think that the business is a vehicle to get what we want. We think that business is a way for us to make money to get what we want. Or we think business sometimes can be a way for us to make an impact, to make ourselves feel better about ourselves. It's like it tends to be quite self-focused, but we never think. And then also we do think like, oh, I can help people because I have this thing to help people, right? So there's two things going on. But I've never heard anybody talk about the fact that the business is a living thing. And so that's really my platform right now, is to talk about, we need to treat the business that we are in as an extension of our spirit. And so when we're called, like you do that, like that's what you're all about, the soul, your whole thing is like that. So and I love that that's what you stand for, because more people need to hear this. And it's not about being woo-woo. I'm so woo-woo. Okay, fine. I'm very woo-woo, but I'm very practical. I run a multi-7-figure business. It's like, I no shame in saying that. I mean, we are extremely successful. We do a lot of different things. I run a mastermind. I have my school. I have my membership. I have a lot of irons in the fire, and I give a ton of money to charity. And I feel really good about what I do, and I don't do anything that doesn't have integrity. However, right now I'm realizing that there's so many people that are saying, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that. And I'm like, well, why? Like, why do you want that? Is it that you're called? And if you are called to it, now you're in a relationship to it. It's a living thing. Your business is a living thing. It's not a vehicle like a car.
Right. Yes. Oh, this is so good.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. It has a soul of its own. Right?
Yeah. And I'm an animist. So of course I play around with this concept all the time. I believe everything has a living spirit. My dad taught me that when I was little, saying that everything has a soul. And then when I really dove into the concept of animism, I really believe even a book has a spirit. It's like it has personalities. Even my decks are different. They speak differently. They feel differently. And so why not look at your business as a living thing that evolves and grows and needs to be nurtured and needs to be treated with respect and needs to be communicated with. You don't tell it what it is. That's why people are not successful often, because they want the thing to give it to them. because they decided that's my client avatar.
Mhm.
That's my perfect client. Well, what if that's not true?
Yeah.
What if
Yeah.
a different kind of person is coming
Mhm.
to match your frequency?
Mhm.
Right? So what
Yes.
about our frequency? So it's not about mindset. It's,
Mhm.
you can tell people, oh, your mindset's off. You're not, you're thinking, I'm like, oh my God, please. That's just like enough already. What about, what am I projecting? What am I? What is the energy that I'm putting out there?
Mhm.
If you're complaining about your clients and stuff, what energy are you putting out?
Yeah.
It's your frequency that's matching theirs.
Mhm.
And on the other hand, if you're like, wait a sec, maybe I'm meant to serve this person.
Mhm.
Right? Then you check in with yourself going like, is this, or who could I become?
Yeah.
That means my business has to up level with me too.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right. So it's like a relationship. It's not, you're not separate from it. I know a lot of people say, oh, I'm not my work. Well, you kind of are.
Yeah. You know, the way that I love to see it, it's so great what you're sharing right now. The way that I love to see it is you are the breath of your business, because your business doesn't have the
Yes.
lungs, right? So you are the breath of it.
Yeah.
But it is an entity of its own that will guide, and it has a mission of its own that blends with your mission. And now together, I'd love that you said that, in relationship with your business.
And it might even turn around and tell you, now this isn't it. Like, you started me, you
Yes.
created me, but guess what? It's really for this. And you have to be willing to allow, like, that's the thing. You know, I really am committed next year to start teaching people how to have that communication with their business, like how to be in that. And that I use oracle cards for that, and meditations and different kind of Q&A sort of thing with the business, like you're interviewing your business, because oftentimes we aren't listening to it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's and if you just learn to hear it. Like I put together this mastermind. I've done it for 8 years. It's 24 people. I do it every year. It's $20,000. And and I have to allow the energy of the group to actually dictate to me, even though I have a template, even though I know exactly what I'm going to do. I might have to change it, because there's a different, and I have to meet the frequency of the group, and I have to meet the content with the zeitgeist, and I have to be on my toes to see, this thing is alive now. Where does it want to take us? In order to really be authentic. And now, especially now, we are at the most extraordinary experimental time in human history, right? We really are.
Yes.
And I think that if we could start to look at our relationship, everything is relationships, everything.
Yeah.
That's why society is breaking down, because, and why I do think we're going to have a reckoning with social media too, because it disconnects us. It doesn't really connect us.
Yeah.
It crossed a line somewhere. It was originally supposed to, and then it isn't, right? So we've lost connections. So we have to find ways to bring back that sacred dialogue between us, our businesses, our clients. Maybe we don't have clients, even if you just work in a corporate job, and the other thing too is, like, a lot of people just, I'm leaving this place. I said, don't ever leave something that you aren't willing to bless.
Oh wow, that's so beautiful. Yes.
Right? Because even when sometimes a business is going to fail, and that's okay too, because it didn't meet the needs you thought it would or whatever. And so it's kind of like, hey, this friendship, we have to break up, right? So, and that's okay. But you have to, like, what are the lessons? What did I learn? What have I experienced? And, and then can I make all of it sacred? Because if I'm not willing to bless what I'm completing and finishing, it's going to follow me to the next place.
Yeah.
So I think we have we are able to have these conversations, right? These totally woo-woo outrageous conversations in a more mainstream way.
Yes. And blending. I mean, that's, like you said, that's what Sacred Success is about. It's blending the tangible. Yeah, absolutely. So I love where this is going. And what I'm getting is that, as a business owner, in that light of having a relationship, allowing the way you just explained, allowing the mastermind to lead where it wants to go, it really takes certain level of self-awareness to allow that, because there's, right? So could you speak to that?
Yeah. And I'm kind of opinionated about this, because I really feel that if you are going to be especially if you're an entrepreneur, you need to have been in therapy, have your own coach. You need to know thyself. That was the top at the temple at Delphi. If you want to have a soulful business, if you want to be in a sacred relationship to your business, you need to know thyself. You need to know, at least to be able to name your boxes of shadow. You need to be able to see where there's projection. You need to be able to see what you can't see. Say, oh, I have a blind spot here. I get that. You need to really understand how to listen to your intuition, which means you have to listen to your body, which means you have to be trauma informed. Like really now we're talking about a lot of different things, right? I mean, even I think every business owner needs to do DEI now. And I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just saying we need to understand who is in front of us and to understand that we all come with stories, no matter whether you're selling, you know, sprockets. If you're having a conversation with somebody, right?
Yes.
You are engaging with a person's spirit as much as telling them or providing them with a service, right? It's like, you got to know.
And it goes back to everything is a relationship, and you constantly are, whether it's one person or a group of people, right? Or even when you mention social media, that is still a relationship to the people who are receiving it, right?
Yep, I have a very big love-hate relationship with social media.
I don't disagree. I love for what it's allowed us to do, and at the same time, it definitely taints the experience.
Yeah, and it enables people to lose sight of their social graces too. I think people have lost their diplomacy or even the ability to have nuanced conversations. You know, it's like screaming into echo chambers. I think a lot of the times, but other times it's great. So I don't go on social media on the weekend or whatever. If I know somebody and I want to get to know them, I'm going to phone them. I don't DM people. I don't follow their feeds. You know, I will go on there because I have to, because of the business, and I will respond to my fans, and I will look at my DMs. And if somebody says I lost my deck, or my house burnt down, and I've sent somebody a deck in Australia in the middle of nowhere because their house burnt down, you know, and my people didn't see that. I'm like, I'll take care of it. So that kind of stuff. But ultimately, I want to look somebody in the eye, even in these smaller Zoom things. You know, I want to be in community. And I'm not for everybody. That was the other thing. Like, I am not for everyone. Your business, my business is not for everyone. I tried to be. I thought, oh, I had to be. And I felt especially the past few years, you know, we've had a lot of reckonings, you know, and I realized, no, if I'm to be totally authentically myself, I have to really ask myself truly, what is true for me? And then how can I ensure that I'm not causing harm, or that I'm, you know, that I'm doing my part, one little step a day, but it's for the rest of my life. We're not going to get it all right in like overnight.
Oh, you just said so many things that I'm like, oh, this is so.
You have to have me back.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to. So one thing that I'm going to pull out of what you just said that I think was so amazing, it goes back to the authenticity. And hold on, because it was so good when you said that. When you are in a relationship with your business and you're allowing it to sort of lead you, right? Like a leader gets to be led by your business. That's what I'm hearing. Right?
Yes. And your business will tell you what's happening. And the other thing is too, because I'm trying to cram it all in our 30 minutes, but I'm like, we have 30 minutes. Let's cram every idea I've ever had into it. But the other thing too, I want to bring up, because I think it's really important too, and the reason I'm bringing it up, because people always talk about their business in my membership site. So this is one of the things is what do you do when there's in a natural cycle of ebb? People think only flow is good.
Right.
You don't get any ideas when you're in flow. You get all your good ideas is when you're in the ebb.
Ooh, that's good.
Where when fishermen cannot go to sea, they stay home and repair their nets. And then they download, and then spirit has a chance to bring you inspired ideas. And then when you're back in flow, that idea comes in and swims beside you and says, hey, remember me? Right. So the ebb is as important. Rest is as important. I'm so not, I almost killed myself hustling for my worth. The longest time I thought I had to keep producing, you know, and that for the wrong reasons. Now I produce because I love it. But I had to change. I also, even, you know, knowing everything I know, teaching what I teach, but I realized, wait a sec, I need to slow down and face the anxiety
Mhm.
that if I am not always producing, that there's something wrong. Right. And
Yeah.
and that I had to, and my parents were immigrants, right? They worked hard, they had heavy accents. We were told we weren't Canadian enough, like in school and stuff, like they came and said, you must work hard, constantly work hard.
Prove yourself.
Prove yourself, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but now I'm like, I don't hustle anymore.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and I can't be, and I'm not afraid when there's an ebb. Not anymore.
That is the best thing, and you've shared so much, Colette. I mean, this whole entire interview, I am really strongly suggesting you, the viewer, right now, watch it again, because there is so much. There are nuances to what you said that if somebody watches 3-4 times, you just shared so much wisdom about what it's going to be like to create mission, vision, business, right? Because all of it is the same in the future. I believe, like all of it, right? Like the business it's no longer what it used to be.
Yeah.
It's
it's not. And even like if you work in an office and here's the other thing, you're always going to be in relationship. So if you're having trouble at the office with people, that's your dysfunctional family that you haven't dealt with, right? If you're right, it's like that's a sign. Go do the work. Back to what you had said earlier, like the self-awareness. Self-awareness is so important. And when you bump up against the wall, go get help. Like, I'm not always in therapy, but this year I went back to therapy. I had to look at some things, some family dynamics. Okay. And then I finished it. And then I'm ready now again, because I ran into an ex and I'm like, ooh, I realized I wasn't done with that. That was like 40 years ago. I guess I better go back. Right. So like, you do what you do to stay self-aware, to keep your filter clean, because we're always operating from the filter of our life experience and personality, our conditioning, our cultural background, our ancestral patterning, things that we're totally unconscious of. That's all active.
Yes.
So why not at least name it, learn how to name them all? Oh, that's that. But don't use it as an excuse either. I'm hearing a lot of people saying, oh my God, that's my trauma. That was that triggered me so much. I'm like, you know what? Then go fix it. Go take care of yourself. And I don't mean to sound like I'm horrifying. I'm being like, right. But I'm like,
but it's true.
Like
People
very
were like
compassionate.
Yes.
Don't
people
use
were
it. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. No, people wear it like a new piece of
jewelry,
like an ornament, like a jewelry, right? It's my trauma. So I'm glad you said that, because people who we are speaking to right now, who's watching us right now, I know all of us are doing work that is soul work, whether we making trinkets or whether we serving through a service. It's from the soul. So it absolutely, the work that you just spoke to, making sure that you are clear space to the level to which you can be in the moment. So when you become aware to something about it, that is so powerful. And that
it doesn't mean that I'm a very compassionate person, but I also believe that we can make an excuse of our story. Oh, I'm like this because of that. Why can't we become something else? Now, I also understand it's not an overnight thing. It's not like overnight oats. You put them in the fridge and the next morning is something good. This is something that takes commitment, and it takes courage, and it takes a lot of self-love. It's like there are so many people. I realize now, so many people, especially since the pandemic, have mental health issues. I think that's why I also think too, take a class on being trauma informed, understand people in general, just to learn. It doesn't mean it's not for you to fix anything, just to understand. It's like, even in St. Francis of Assisi prayer, it says it is better to understand than be understood. Right? It's like, I need to understand who it is that I'm dealing with, so I don't take it personally. That's the other thing. Life is not personal. When you are in business, and if you are rejected, rejection is God's protection. Right? It's like, the right people will find you. Your trinkets, like you said, or your service, or whatever it is that you're here to do of your viewers and your wonderful people that are watching this. This is something that's like, if you're coming from your soul, you're coming from your heart. Love what you do. And if you knew that you could be in a relationship with this, you could have a love relationship with your business.
Wow.
Get to know it. Let it tell you something about itself. You'd be very surprised sometimes that you've been trying to tell it what it is, when it's saying, well, maybe I'm a little different than what you think. Right?
That is so freeing what you just shared. Oh, Colette, I wish we had another. I will definitely would love to have you in the salon because clearly, I mean, I already knew you had so much wisdom to share, but there is so much that we get to tap into within the topic that we speak about. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And before we go, I know you have an amazing gift, and you guys know the drill. It's the button below this video, a beautiful golden button. What's behind the
golden button, like the golden buzzer. I love it.
Yes.
So most of you know, and if you don't know, you know now that I've got 14 Oracle card decks, actually 3 more in the works, so there'll be 17 soon. And I'm all about personal transformation and using ancient divination systems in a modern way in order for us to have a divine dialogue with whatever the subject is. So for quite a few years before I retired, I did intuitive strategy for businesses for a few years, right? So, and I used this particular Oracle card deck called the Enchanted Map. So I'm giving you a way to help you make executive decisions using Oracle cards when you aren't 100% clear and you need to make a quick decision. These are not yes or no things. They tell you deeper layers of what you can't quite see in that moment. So I've got a whole kit for you to learn how to do.
That is priceless. And I love the way I love the way you phrased it. It's not yes or no. It's giving you guidance to what is the thing you get to look at so you can make your own decision. That's so
what do I need to know about this? I'm adamant about never giving your power over to anything, over to any person, any tool, any situation, any goal, anything. Be empowered, be respectful that you have to make a choice and make an informed choice. And sometimes more than often, the Oracle cards will show you something you can't see. So
I don't want to.
Or don't want, I know. And I still do things I don't want. I'm like, I want it. Like, right. We want what we want, when we want it, how we want it. And then we realize afterwards, oh, well, I should have listened.
Yep.
But this will help you not do that.
Perfect. Amazing. Make sure you click the button below the video, get into Colette's world and claim the prize. I cannot wait to play with it because it'll be fun. There are many times where I'm like, I don't know, because I know I don't want to see what I need to see. So
well, we're human, right? The other thing is too, we're human. Anyway, thank you so much for inviting me on this wonderful salon. And it's been my privilege and pleasure to be here. And I don't know, I have such a good feeling of your audience, and well, because I like you too, but I just feel that you are the leader and they're the ones, seeing you and following you and wanting to emulate you. I think they've got a great person to follow.
Oh, thank you. That moves me so much. Thank you. I really appreciate you, Colette. Thank you for your contribution. We'll see you at the next conversation. Before you go, click the button. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.